All right, it is Sunday, June 1st. We are gonna go ahead and have a good time. The fights last night on Amazon Prime. And I guess the fights on Friday, the Golden Boy card on Friday, which was also a fantastic card. Um, on Friday. Good weekend, another good weekend of boxing, bro. What you think?
Good weekend of boxing. Personally, I'm disappointed in a few of the outcomes, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah, obviously we wanted things to go certain ways for the other fights. They did not happen. And then there's a fight that did go away that should not have went away. And we'll get into the full details of why this person was wrong for saying what they said about the fight, post-fight, and all of that. I guess we can start it off Friday night Golden Boy. Lil Pacheco fought. He got into it with a little veteran, but nonetheless he got the win and the decision. And other Pacheco's, I say little Pacheco, he is the heavyweight brother, so he obviously ain't little at all. He had his fight, but the main event, Melikuziev and Fulghum on the main event. All right. We obviously wanted Darius to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that as it relates to the main card. Even with that being said, that turned out to be a damn good Friday night fight. What did you think?
Uh,
Just overall before we'll piece this up.
well, first off, I want to say that for anybody watching, Foreman and I, we might comment or send text messages about fights, but in general, we don't talk about stuff before we talk about it on the platform, and we do that on purpose. So what I thought about it, I think it was a good fight. It answered a lot of questions. Good.
Whole bunch of questions.
So yeah, I think it was a good fight overall.
Yeah. I have no complaints even with let me take that back. I do got some complaints from the judges from how they saw it. Because even after watching the replay Friday, Saturday morning, I still was like, what did y'all see that I missed at this point? Because one of the judges had the whole back half of the fight for Beck. The whole back half of the fight. And that's wild. But even was even wilder to me is the 9-9 round in round 7 where Beck's point was taken, and none of them gave round 7 to Fulghum for that. Obviously, the knockdown in the 12th is what inevitably did it in. But if you even let's just say he doesn't get the knockdown, that's one, and then they give Darius the round, that's a 2-point swing at that point, and he does win that fight, right? Um, that while a great fight from both men, Darius controlled the first 6 of that fight for me 4-2. That's how I viewed it. And I will give Beck that 1000% credit for the back half of that fight because he let Darius come to him. He used his own pressure against him, and Darius also pulled back on some of the things as well. Um, at worst, that was a draw to me.
Uh, I don't. It's one of those fights to me. I feel like it could have either went split one way or split the other way or draw. Like it was just like that close of a fight to me. Given the point deduction, given the knockdown and everything like that. I do disagree with it. It's probably no, it's not no probably. At no point in that fight can you give either one of them fighters 6 rounds in a row. I don't care
No,
what round you
no.
start. I don't care what round you start at. It's no. Neither one of them won 6 rounds in a row. So for
No.
the judges to give Beck the back half of 6 in a row, hell no.
I
That
was okay. I was okay with the blue and the red corner judges from their scorecards because they were varying up the rounds. I'm not mad at that. I totally understand that. And obviously, like I said, the knockdown at the 12th, that is perfectly understandable and okay. I have no disagreements with that. But the white corner judge, the neutral corner judge, where he just straight up went back half back, that's where I got beef. Like you said. Um, I did not see it that way. Maybe obviously I'm slightly emotionally invested in that as well. However, I'm not mad at the decision for the judges giving it to Beck. I don't like how they gave it to Beck, but I do understand the decision for giving it to Beck. The whole time, I mean, I had Darius up 6 at that point, but I understood that, even if he had another round, a knockdown, which he did, swings all of that real quick. So, uh, which, like I said, which did ended up being, it would have been 114, 114. So,
So before I say this one thing I do have to say. First off, I want to give Beck his credit. Between Beck and Darius, you want to talk about dogs. Like
yeah,
both of them were eating shots. Both of them were stunned at different points. Both of them came to fight. Both of them showed grit, determination. So
absolutely.
so 100% respect to both of those guys, especially I
And
want to say, like I did on my IG post, if there was any questions about Darius' chin or if he had
nah,
that dog,
it better not be one now.
that all got answered.
He took a body shot with a bad step. That ended up being a knockdown. But as far as that chin, that boy got one. Ain't no it. Shout out to both fighters, like you said, but I also want to give a shout out to both coaches because that was Darnell's first time being in that kind of eliminator fight as well for a new time coach, not new coach, but for a coach for the first time being at that level and going up against Joel Diaz on the opposite corner. Both men were well prepared for the fight on Saturday. So shout out to both of those men competing and entertaining us on
I
Friday for that.
I do want to get your thoughts on one thing. Like I said, we don't go in depth on talking about fights before we get on here because we don't want it to be a rehearsed kind of thing.
Mhm.
One thing, maybe you saw it different than me. One thing I really didn't like at a certain point in the fight, I want to say after about like round 5, I think. Um, so Darius was showing pressure. Darius was going forward, but at at a point in the fight, Beck kept countering him because it was certain ways Darius would come into the pressure. So sometimes he would leave his feet and kind of jump into it, and Beck would counter him with a pot shot whenever he did that. Sometimes like Darius would kind of like rush across the ring, kind of like Triple G style.
His straight left was back straight left was coming
Yeah,
through.
kind of like Triple G style when Triple G would like get hit with a jab and back up, but he kind of rush forward. Like Darius
Yeah,
would do something like that, and he get caught with an awkward punch. Like Beck was coming with different angles, catching with different punches.
yeah,
In those moments, I wish Darius did not pressure as much and let Beck try to come towards him because it started having an effect, and that's when Darius started kind of slowing down a little bit because he was getting countered by awkward shots because he was coming forward at
yeah.
at a fast.
That's why I said for sure good job on Beck for knowing what Beck and that's why the corner here matters. Beck and Joel Diaz both. That was obviously Beck is only able to counter and go through those things if that's something that's discussed and talked about in training camp, getting ready for the fight, right? Hey, this kid's gonna come to your counter, is what he's gonna do. You can't stop him from coming. He's not gonna do that, which is true. We know that Darius' style is not going to change from that point, from that perspective, at least to this point of his career. So what do? You kind of base yourself back and say, man, okay, I see I can't match pace for pace because we did see Beck try to match pace for pace with Darius in those first 6, 7 rounds, and Beck's energy, his gas tank depleted very quickly at that point. And that's when they had to realize, like, hey, bro, you gotta have to turn into something that you're not, which is the counterpuncher, like you said. Darius would come in, Beck would get off that 1 shot, 2 shot, and or just throw that 1, 2 to 3 body shots at that point to try to get the Darius to slow down. he was getting those punches may not have always been devastating, but those punches were effective in stopping everything leading up to I'm going to deplete my gas tank if I don't do something against him. That's what that essentially saved Bek's gas tank for rounds 8 through 12 if he did not do the things that he did by simply using Darius's aggression against him. That is, you're absolutely right. That is something that was a great mindset game plan. The game plan isn't always physical. The game plan, this is the part where the game plan was mental. You knew who he is, you knew what was coming, and then that is what they prepped for. So that is perfectly okay by Joel Diaz and Beck to say, hey, this is what we talked about. He's coming. Boom. And then that's or you can your mind tells you, I've seen this before, we've talked about this. I can pull that back in my brain and we can go from that point. So
And like we always say, a lot of people say it. Like everything, every loss is you can learn from it. I think there's something that Darius will be able to take with him
mhm.
and learn from it. Just that was a great job, like you said, by Beck in this corner, just catching Darius in between movements, in between.
Absolutely.
And I think
I'm no hater from where it was at. And Darius's jab was crisp on Beck's neck the whole
yeah,
night as well. So
and I,
everybody had their game plan to match the reason why we got the fight that we got.
and,
Everybody did their preparation.
and I think I don't know exactly what that one judge was thinking, but in the back half of their fight, the cleaner. So Darius was doing some work inside some,
Mm-hmm.
and that wouldn't really get noticed. It was harder to notice.
Because
So
the judges are looking at it from all different angles. That's going
right.
to always be an unfortunate factor.
So the to the flip side of that, like I said, when Beck was catching Darius in between steps or minor hops and jumps,
Mm-hmm.
those catches were obvious.
Correct.
So
Correct. Because
because
that was a consequence.
it was out in the open. It was when Darius, if he had his guard down a little bit and he get
Mm-hmm.
popped, it would show his head getting knocked back, kind of thing. So though that might have been what they were looking for, I don't know what the judge was looking at with the whole six in a row. Outside of that, he had the
Can't
like
I can't do anything with that.
he just had the like Beck style. That,
That's it.
that
That's my only and that's my only issue with any of this is because I know what I saw and what you're telling me is a sweep the whole last six. I can't go with that. That's it. I'm not mad at the scores. I'm just mad at how that score went specifically. So nevertheless, Beck moves on. Darius is perfectly fine. Darius is gonna be okay. He proved himself as one of the best, as far as especially a prospect upcoming against a man who's already been around.
yeah.
Simple as that. Darius Fulghum belongs in the 168 division amongst the best, hands down. So
Especially because Beck is probably going to get a good shot or a big name his next fight. So
correct.
Darius is right there.
I'm also not mad at the rematch.
Yeah,
So yeah. So
yeah. Beck probably don't want it, but
he might not. However, I would not be upset no matter which way it goes. So thank y'all both men for entertaining on Friday night. All right. The Amazon Prime card on Saturday night that we had, which headlined of Cato Plant and Resendiz, Charlo and Lamana, and Hernandez and Kyron Davis. We're gonna get into the Kyron Davis and Yolanda Hernandez fight because sometimes you don't have it in the office that night. And that was one of those days where Kyron Davis clearly did not have it in office that night. He did not have his tools with him as he was gun shy to punch. as he was visibly worried about the counter punches, and also as the power difference in that fight was staggering, from punch selection, punch choice, so many different things from that point.
Shit, I was worried
Yoelvis,
for him.
say again.
Say shit, I was worried for him.
Yeah, that is one of those moments where we got into it early in round three, bro. Round three, round four, from me, my perspective, you see a young man get dribbled around like this, hey, bro, getting knocked down with the jet with the 2-1, the same thing, that kind of off balance. I'm cool with that. The same thing. That's what Crawford hit Spence with for that first knockdown at 2-1. All right, cool. It just from the angle of what happened to it. That's all that was. Now the other part of that is what happened afterwards, is because from this point, Yelena Hernandez was just not trying to purposely knock Kyron Davis out. He was just punching him. And it was just visibly, he was just gun shy. Kyron Davis was not punching back. He was not trying to throw punches and bunches. There was so many different things um, that I would have hoped the corner would have stopped the fight for. Hey, bro, you know what? I see it just ain't it tonight against this man. I'm not calling you no punk. I'm just saying tonight ain't your night, and I'd rather get you back home safely and call it a day, because, recently, again, you don't play boxing. Buddy in Japan right now had a brain, they had a brain injury and they had to do surgery on him. He had a hemorrhage. Let's not cause any injuries more than we need to. So, yeah, Hernandez is like that. That's one thing for sure. And that just was not a good look for Breadman. And to me, um, that wasn't a good look for me.
I mean, it's always a fine line, especially in boxing, because like you said, you don't play boxing, and to break that down even further, if you're a trainer, coach, even a ref to a certain extent, like these fighters pretty much have their life in your hands,
Mm-hmm.
especially in certain moments, certain situations. In that situation, Davis was still moving. He was able to cover up and protect himself sometimes. He was still getting hit with the kitchen sink, but he was able to move and talk. He was talking noise basically in the ring, but he was getting punched on. At some point, you got to look at the age of the fighter and say, all right, well, if he keeps getting beat on and we got 5 rounds left, like what's next for this guy? How long will he be out?
Long.
What if he gets knocked out and have to go to the hospital? What if
Yep.
something gets broke in his face? Like you're supposed to start looking at the future. I mean, it's always a thin line, because it's like, all right, well, we've seen in boxing where fighters are getting punched on and they threw a Hail Mary punch and knocked the guy out, and then they end up winning.
This
That's
wasn't happening.
that's cool, but
That was not happening in this
you
fight.
you got to give a leash and say, all right, well, if you gonna do it, you got to do it in this round. Otherwise, I'm
There
calling.
was there was at no fight, no point in that fight from round 1 to 10 where I felt Kyron Davis could have landed a Hail Mary on Hernandez to slow him down in the least. And that's not a disrespect. I'm not trying to disrespect Kyron Davis here. It's just, hey, bro, for what you were up against, there's nothing that for this much to this day, at that moment in time, it just wasn't for you, bro. And that's okay. And that's okay. You play that, you fight the fights for a reason, because on paper, everybody would have said, oh, Hernandez, I mean, Davis could go out and work him, and not, we get it. Because he's only 8 fights in, he's still a Cuban, 8 fights in. And you're just like, oh, but Davis gonna do, and then you fight the fight, and it's like, oh, okay, hey, man, let's go ahead and pull that back, and that's okay, and
Like
that's
we, you know how we do, especially me. I tied into another sport. This is not basketball or football where my star player is in the game in the fourth quarter and we getting our ass kicked by 30. That's effectively harmless. I mean, they can get hurt at the end of the game, but it's not really
yeah. But the injury is less likely at that point
right.
versus any of
And even if they don't get hurt, shit, we gonna play again another 2 or 3 days. So that's
Call it
cool.
a day.
But,
Might play
but
tomorrow. Keep your
but
cool.
with boxing, you get beat on like that, man. There's damage that come with that shit. It,
Tomorrow might not be here for
men-
you.
mentally and physically. Even if you come out okay, you come out all right. Like that don't mean you can hop back in that ring in 6 months, in
That's
eight
why I
months.
said tomorrow might not be there for you in boxing. You have a bad day in the office, and that might be your last day at the office in boxing. So I just didn't like that look at all. That's me personally. I got that's all I can say. The co-main event of that fight. This is going to be a good quick section because I said Jermall Charlo needed to look spectacular, and as the rounds started going on, the things that I was looking for physically from him started to show up. The the jab, everybody was like, "Oh, look at the Charlo jab." As soon as he threw the first jab, that wasn't it to me. I think the second round is when that when he. I like how Jermall Charlo always sets his back foot, square gets their shoulder tuck their chin, then he jabs from that point. It was the signs of okay, I'm back in shape. From my jab is back in form. It was those signs. Then it was the sign of I'm starting to get my hips loose, my upper body loose. I can roll a punch here and get ready for the counter here. Then it was the third sign of okay, now I'm throwing two, three, four jabs at this point. Now I'm getting in my right hand to the body, my right hook to the body. Now I can try to check you with a left hook. Now I can throw a 1-2. Well, my straight right is just strong. The signs is what I was looking for, Jermall Charlo. He was able to get some rounds in and look good, minus the opponent. The opponent was not what I was looking at. I'm looking at him directly and the things that he can do, things we've seen him do, and he did those things. That's what I'm happy about seeing. So I asked for him to look spectacular, and he looked spectacular.
Yeah, this fight did what it was supposed to do for Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is you could tell this is even before the fight. This is a different version of Maul.
Absolutely.
More calm. Seems more down to earth now. But in the ring, especially in the first one or two rounds, you could tell his confidence was not there like it used to be because he's been out for so long. So, um, are you froze?
No,
I,
no, no. I'm listening to you. I'm sorry. I was listening. I'm just listening, letting you getting it out.
but yeah, it did what it's supposed to do because the fight went on. You could tell his confidence was there. Looked like he was having fun in the ring, and then after the fight, you could tell his how he felt about himself, and it was good to get a win under his belt. So this was effectively a confidence building, knock the rust off match, and that's exactly what it did for him. So activity is king, and I hope he keeps it up because you can't just go away for a year and then come back again.
Yeah,
You
that's not gonna fly.
you too old for that now.
Fighters, fighters need activity no matter what they try to tell people. Activity, like you said, is king in boxing. The best basketball players in the world are the best basketball players in the world because activity, minus the AAU and all that. I hate that for kids. That's a whole other topic. I can't stand that AAU process. Those kids, they knees and nothing, don't get no break. That is ridiculous. Now, boxing, every 3 to 4 months, get in the ring, bro. Go ahead and call it a day. Every 3 to 3.5, 4 months, you need to be back in the ring. That is activity of keeping your skill. Hey, I just came off because turning that switch on is different, in training. You're not turning that switch on in sparring. You're just not. The danger is not the same in sparring. No matter how much you train, how sharp you are, you're not turning the circuit's a different switch. You got two switches on the wall in your home. One switch, all right, it's just normal lights. I can, but then you got your guests coming over. I got a party. It's coming on the party switch, bro. That's essential to what that is in boxing. This switch is good for training. You need to have that switch on when you start walking the gym. You need to have the switch on, when you spar. But that party switch, You can't. There's nothing you can do to imitate that besides going to go do that. So I do, since Plant is, he won't be able to fight Plant in the fall like he planned, because Plant has a rematch clause that they're going to go through with Resendiz, which we'll get into next. But I would like to see him again in another 2.5, 3 months, because he came out fresh. He didn't take no damage. So there's that. That's it.
Yeah, especially if it go the route I think it might go. I need him to get back in the ring.
Correct.
You know the loudest, we'll talk about him in a minute, but the loudest person in that division is probably gonna call for that fight.
Okay. All right. Main event of the card yesterday. Caleb Plant and Armando Resendiz. Resendiz got the unanimous. Resendiz got the split decision. Don't ask me how. Resendiz, he won. The right man won. But again, this is where the scorecards and judges are pissing me off. Right man won. Terrible card to go for that. Scorecard for the judges to go from that point. But what a bad game plan is what this seemed like. To not let, if you knew Resendiz was possibly going to come to Caleb Plant, it seems like this training camp should have been more focused on backing up, counterpunching, or staying inside, not trying to box with the man.
Now tell the people why you referencing that.
I am referencing this because of Stephen Breadman's comments post-fight.
His trainer,
his coach, post-fight made some comments after the fight, after it's all said and done, saying, man, I told Caleb and Jordan it was going to be a tough fight. I told him this guy was coming to fight. And, we all know Caleb is the best 4 to 5 rounder in the world. And, next time I want to bring in my kind of sparring partners, my kind of guys. I have an issue with all of that. Simply be what he said in that post-fight video on Fight Hub TV, because that's where I saw it at. I had the issue with that simply because if you knew all of those things about Caleb Plant, you said he was worried about the baby. You said all of these things post-fight. These are things that should have been addressed 9 weeks ago. If you have to get into an argument with your fighter over what you see for a fight, so be it. Get in that argument. Get in that argument every single time 9 weeks ago, because you only get one shot to do this right. Every single time. You can't go on, and then even if you don't get in there, you don't get on camera with the tone that he had it and use the words that he chose to blame the fighter as to why the fighter lost, because he didn't want to listen to you. He did not do those things that you wanted him to do, because that is your responsibility as the coach. You have to have some accountability as it relates to that too. Those are the things that piss me off. The fighter absolutely has to go out there and perform. Caleb Plant is going to make his self-adjustments as he sees in the ring, as every fighter does. And then it's the coach's job to add another adjustment inside of that. We saw a different adjustment, and I can easily say that we know Caleb Plant listens, because for some reason in the 12th round, Breadman told Caleb Plant, all right, get on your hop, get on your toes in the 12th round, and Caleb Plant didn't even question that man. Caleb
Bruh.
Plant said, okay, and went out there and performed. So at that now, that lets me know that means that man was locked in with everything that you were saying. He listened to you. He trusted you. Because in 12 rounds, if he could still think in 12 rounds, hear, listen, comprehend, and go do exactly what you said for 12 rounds, in the 12th round, I'm looking at you funnier now at this point. That's on you. It always, obviously, it's going to fall on the fighter. But as the coach, You need to have that conversation. That is what, because that's just not a good look for any fighter that may be in potential plans of working with a coach. You don't want to see them be off-putting at that point. Because if you don't like the way the training camp is going and you feel that, hey man, he gonna get his ass beat because this guy's gonna be coming to fight, blah blah blah, and all of that. Hey bro, leave that camp early enough. Get up out of there. So that way you can say, hey, you know what, man? We ain't working together. It ain't working. You ain't listening to what I see better fit. Let's go ahead and cut it short. Now, the other part that kind of goes into Caleb Plant, I just went on a crazy rant. But not just the other part that goes into Caleb Plant is Caleb Plant made the self-adjustment in the McCumbee fight to go step to McCumbee. There was no self-adjustment here. What happened there from what you saw?
Uh, I think part of it is Breadman got out coached again in that aspect because McCumbee was coming forward. Resendiz was like, "Nah, I'm not. I know. I saw what you did last fight. My coach already told me about this. That you're gonna go to that if you get in trouble. I'm not letting you do it."
And coincidentally, you know who that coach was? Manny goddamn Robles. Who is Manny Robles, ladies and gentlemen? He is responsible for this picture incoming 3, 2, and 1. Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, Madison Square Garden. Anthony Joshua's coming to America party got ruined. But go ahead.
But yeah, I think that was the main thing. Touching back on Plant's trainer, two issues. One, if you're gonna say that Caleb is the best fighter in first 4 or 5 rounds, then what? I'm not gonna cuss.
Mm-hmm.
What were you training him for then? Because if you know your fighter is the best fighter in the world for the first 4 or 5 rounds, then for one, he should have smoked him in the first 4 or 5 rounds, and you should have trained him for that. Or two, he should have tried to get him out of there in the first 4 or 5 rounds, because you know you have 6 or 7 rounds left after that. So what are you training him for? For the number two, you mentioned it, and we actually text about this part. Round 12, you tell him get on the hop or get on the horse. Now you got a fighter that's in there with clearly dead legs. He's been getting punched on for the last few rounds, and you tell him to use his legs to get on the hop. Hell no, he ain't had nothing left.
Should have been on the hop in the first 5, 6 rounds. Be on your hop then. But don't, at this point, 12 rounds, you gotta, and this is the other part of being reasonable and honest as a coach. Tell your fighter, hey, bro, you need a knockdown or a knockout. We got to go. There is no other way that you are going to win this fight if you don't go out there and if you don't go out there and finish this fight, because we're not going to get it on the cards.
And that's what he should have been using his legs for, not to be hopping around, to be
No,
punched.
use them legs and step into him and force him different at that point.
Yep.
That's
Now,
what you go in there and use your legs for. Now
now,
I got to hear stupid ass Edgar Berlanga,
hold on,
who
hold on. Before we get into that, want to give, like you said earlier, want to give Resendiz in this corner all the
give
props.
Resendiz and Manny Robles their prop. Absolutely.
Their game plan was on point. Now, this is what just happened, and this is what you did uh, to what Plant in this corner. This is what happened now. Now it is a fair question, one to ask, if the punishment that Plant took against Benavidez and Canelo and even McCumbee, if that caught up to him. Because Caleb Plant is a reflex fighter. All fighters are, but especially Caleb. Relies heavily on his reflexes,
Reflexes and twitches. I can give you that.
the way he pivots, the way he moves. He makes fighters miss, and he was doing that a little bit in the first 4 or 5 rounds, but he wasn't doing that like he normally does, not in my opinion. Now, it's a fair question to ask, have the punches caught up to him? He's 32 years old. Fighters age differently after 30. Some age fast, some age slow. Depends on the activity, depends on the wars you've been in, all this and that. Now it's a fair question to ask if he's slowed down to the point to where he's not the Caleb Plant that we've seen before.
I can't say that he slowed down because I saw lack of offense here.
Mm.
That's the worst part. If I would have saw the same offense and it was just slow, then I can say that. But because the offense I did see was still fast, I can't say you slowed down. Now, are you worried about the punch? I maybe I can get with that part. Maybe he's worried about the punch. Um,
So, so
hmm,
my
this is
point.
tough.
So, and that's my point. My point is, you've invited all of these different questions, whether they're accurate or not. Is questions now that we haven't had before about him.
It ain't.
Even
That's why I'm so mad that Breadman made the comments that he made after that fight.
even even if you take the fights against Benavidez and Canelo, Plant was winning them fights early on, and he just either he got caught with something, he got outpowered, this and that.
Canelo fight. I can give. I'm not worried about because Canelo did the best job with the hip punching them on the hips to slow his movement down. Canelo did a very, very, very good job uh, in that fight. But Benavidez just outfought him. You know, he matched him pace for pace. That was the two elite fighters. So I can't. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really tripping on that. I
But
get I get your point, even by adding Resendiz into this third one now. I get your point.
and even with those like the movements, Plant movement was different in those fights. Like he was making them work. In this fight, he didn't. Like you said, the offense wasn't there, and feet are a part of offense. Like his feet look funny to me from what they normally look like.
Yeah. Nothing changed in the stance of that fight. He fought that first seven rounds. How he stood up on his feet in the end of round 7 after that 4-punch nasty combination before the end of that round, and in that 8th round too. Let's add that in there and a 9th.
Yeah,
Showed me. I mean, that's his heart. We know that heart grit. You got if you're gonna put even when they stopped it on the Canelo fight, he was getting up. So one way or the other, you got to put him out. You
yeah.
know,
We never questioned if he a dog.
no,
Shit.
no. And this is not a question that Caleb is he did no he did nothing got exposed here, which the internet loves to say when
I,
people lose or people that are popular amongst people, fighters that are popular amongst a great fan base, they say they get exposed for some reason, and there's no such thing as exposed when you're at
I
no.
don't I don't understand that word because Caleb has been in there with the best at his weight class. Like if he
There's
oh
no need to even try to halfway try to justify or trying to figure out those people's
it
mindsets,
makes
because you know what, they don't know shit about boxing. That's
yeah.
what that is. So yeah, I cut the camera off, Nick. I cut the camera. I cut the camera off. I cut the camera off. I don't care. Um, really disappointing. Really disappointing from what I heard from Breadman after the fight. Simple as that.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect.
Because
Causes of
Caleb lost, now we have to hear the loudest person in this division talk shit, Edgar Berlanga. And I want to say before Foreman gets started, Edgar Berlanga is lame. You're lame the way you reacted, especially you reacting to a fighter that you refused to fight when he lost. I don't understand how you excited or talking noise or whatever versus Caleb when you not the one that did it because you wouldn't fight him. That's lame to me.
At least Caleb went out against somebody who had a notable win, even in when Resendiz got the KO victory, TKO victory against Jared Hurd when he split Jared's lip open a couple of years ago on that pass. So it ain't like Resendiz is just absolutely a nobody. Edgar Berlanga has to remember we've seen him for all aspects of what he's fighting, even when he first got to the zone, Eddie Hearn, before Eddie Hearn spoon fed him to Canelo. Um, Marcelo Caceres, when you went to your first 10-round fight after your 18 straight first round KOs, when he put you on your ass, sometimes you got to just shut up. And that's cool. Because even then, you went on to fight Angulo and Steve Rose, and they both made you look like, ugh, so bad to the point that Top Rank dropped you, let you go from your contract after that point. Because it was evident that you could not hang in the class that you were in. It was evident at that point. There was no separation. Outside of the power, the skill was not there, still to this point. If Edgar Berlanga is looking for anybody to go fight, even Jermall Charlo with his one fight return, I would choose Charlo over Berlanga. Simply because of what Edgar Berlanga cannot do. I would simply choose him just from that. I would choose Diego Pacheco against Edgar Berlanga, just simply because of what Edgar Berlanga cannot do. I am still going to choose Darius Fulghum all over Edgar Berlanga because I know what Edgar Berlanga cannot do. I'm choosing, and maybe haterish of me, however that sounds. The style of Berlanga is the style of Berlanga, and the skill is not the skill of Berlanga, and that's cool. We've seen it enough. We know what it looks like. It just is what it is at that point. You are who you are when you got here. Same, we got to hear it. So, causes of Caleb Plant losing this fight, Jermall Charlo gets another chance for another fight to return to form. See if he can look more polished in this next fight. Since Plant and Resendiz have a rematch clause. Everybody else seems to be open and free. 168 division is still one of the best divisions in boxing.
Yep.
Edgar Berlanga better hope he don't lose to Hamza Shiraz in July 12th. That's all I gotta say. Because if he loses to Hamza Shiraz on July 12th in New York, I want you to know I'm going to act different.
I don't like I said, man, he lame. And I don't understand. I never understood this. Like, you celebrating someone else you got beef with because somebody did the job you didn't want to do.
Go do
Like,
it yourself, like you said.
if me and you, if we both were boxers and we didn't like each other and you lost, and I jump on the internet, I told y'all he wasn't like that. Like, why I didn't go show y'all he wasn't like that then? Like, what are we talking about here?
This could
And
have been settled.
you've been on this Canelo tour after you lost, and at no point in time in that fight that I was Canelo in danger of losing. And you've
That
been on this
man,
tour, and
he said it was
then
Puerto Rico that called me and they wanted me to do a ride out.
yeah, and then after that fight, you went and fought somebody from the soup kitchen. I don't know where they got fam from, but
But it
like,
was in jail 10 years and they just pulled him out after a couple fights and said, bet.
who does that? That's supposed to be like up there at the big names. Who could go get a?
Nobody else could have got away with that. Nobody else at the top level could have got away with that.
That was the
Nobody.
that put a mark, stuff like that put a bad mark on boxing. Like, that was sad. You supposed to be, you say you one of the best or you are the best, and you pitching for a rematch against Canelo, and then you gonna fight this dude that you fought.
Nah,
That
he
out of
ain't.
and
He
have
ain't pitching for no rematch. He ain't pitching for nothing.
yeah. So
He ain't pitching for nothing but a hard time.
yeah, so it's different if you were saying from the beginning, like I think Resendiz will beat Caleb Plant, and then you stick to that, and then after the fight you say I told y'all he was gonna win. That's different than saying you trash or you soft or
Right. Whole different ball game there. Whole different ball game. With that, all of that. Are we still gonna get Canelo and Bud fighting in September? Nobody knows anything anymore.
uh. I say yeah because they still went on the press tour to start it off. Canelo been doing interviews talking about
He has been doing interviews.
yeah, I saw an interview he did like last week. So he's still doing interviews. Bud's still doing interviews. Um, I just don't know where it's gonna be because they wanted to move it off that Friday date. At first they were accommodating because
Which is
who got
crazy.
Saturday football. They didn't want to go up against NCAA because that's when I think week 1 starts back for
I would have, man, that would have been great. Friday night still would have been fire.
yeah. Either
Friday
night,
night would have been fire.
don't matter about football. It's like you
That could
fight.
have you could have put it you could have put it on Sunday and it wouldn't have mattered. We would have
Like
been locked and loaded right then and now.
like what are we talking about? Like Canelo, he fights so late at night when he in Vegas. Like who gonna be on USC? I don't nobody care about.
All right.
Everybody we already
Okay.
played. So, but yeah, I think they need to nail down the venue. But from what I read, Canelo is telling Mr. Turk that take me back to Vegas. Like take me home, basically. So
That's essentially what I'm out hearing. As long as I get a fight, I don't care. That fight deserves a crowd. It does not need to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because it just does not have the same ripple effect across the world. No matter what transpires, it's still not the same ripple effect across the world. And that's what we're all essentially looking for. We're just looking for the ripple effect of how it goes. So,
so
Turkey, if you by happen to catch a view of all of this, I don't care where you make it in America. You can make this doggone fight in Montana for all I care about. It has to be in America. And I'm usually not one for that. Actually, you can put this fight in England, and on the cool, you can put this fight on in England and Wembley. On the cool, you can do that. That would be fire, but it's got to be between those two countries. That's it. Sorry, not
yeah,
sorry.
I mean I think it's still happening because like we said, a few things certain in life, and one of them is a healthy Canelo go fight in 2 months, guaranteed. So for sure, Canelo go fight.
He fight. Who he fighting? I don't know, but he gonna fight for sure.
Now I would hate to see the aftermath of that fight falling through for Bud because then
The media, social media, is gonna have a field day.
on top of that, like for your career, do you want to take the time and how long it would take to go for undisputed at 154?
Yeah, because they just divided the belt again since Sebastian Fedor dropped the belt and Xander Zayas. Then you
Mm,
got to go out there and fight the young. No, then he would have to go fight a Xander Zayas, and that would suck. Man, that would suck.
yeah,
Because if he watches Xander, the only words everybody gonna say is he wasn't ready for that.
because really I seen somebody say if if Bud beats Canelo and becomes undisputed at 68, that he would then go back to 54 and try to get undisputed there too.
That's what he said.
Now
And
that Now that makes sense. But if he doesn't get the Canelo fight, I don't know if I'm him at that age. I don't know if I want to start back basically over to try to get all the belts at 54 at the time it would take because of some of these guys already got fights lined up, and then you have to go damn near.
If he hungry, he hungry.
I mean, yeah,
Well, they say the rule of the jungle. If the lion hungry, he gonna eat.
hell, you know what I'd do if I was him though? Look over there at 160. Shit.
On the cool. On the cool, you only gotta worry about a dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
You sparred him before already. You worked over him. You sparred over a dumbass.
Damn it. Cause that's damn sure the
Janabek, dumbass, Janabek. Yeah, he can make something happen. He can make something happen. And Laura, old man Laura, don't forget about that old man Laura. So yeah, he can make something happen at 60.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. Bud does pull some of this off though. that, that that would be probably the greatest thing next to Sugar Ray Robinson on the cool. That on the cool, that would be definitely, definitely next to Sugar Ray Robinson. And then everybody just got to shut up. Simple as that.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Been a good episode. We didn't even introduce ourselves the whole time. That's crazy. No, we didn't. We did
Mm.
not. Either
No,
way, thank you for watching this episode of Pay the Soul Boxing. I'm Foreman. And y'all will be back again for another episode on Wednesday as we talk through the top rank card, which Pay the Soul Boxing will be on site. I'll be at the fights in Norfolk, Virginia. Pray for me because all of my shipmates and everybody else and all of that are there. And please pray for me. My God, pray for me. That's all I can say. So we'll have some good interviews and all that. Have a good one.